Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Apex Online Racing YouTube channel. My name is Yorkie065 and I'm going to be your commentator for today with round 9 here at the Dubai Autodrome GP circuit. I must start off with an apology for the technical issues that I had with the stream. For whatever reason, YouTube wasn't wanting to launch the stream. Everything was all good and fine here on my end. It was just not firing for whatever reason. So that was yeah, that was really unfortunate and frustrating. But nonetheless, we are underway here with the coverage of today's round, and we are into our 15-minute qualifying session with the standard 16-minute race format. The man you're looking at the moment, sat in the pit garage, is Jorgurk, and he has a qualifying ban for this race, so he will not be participating in the qualifying session. He's unfortunately picked up a number of penalty points over the course of the season, which has meant that basically the total of points that he's had is gotten to this qualifying ban. So he will be starting from the very back of the grid. But let's actually take a quick look at the overall standings at the moment as they are. So you can see that Andrex is at the top. He has a total of 306 points to his name, and then Inky Chris is there in second, just 30 points off the tail of Andrex. And with this round, the final round of the season, and also the rerun of round 7 at Azure circuit, the championship is still very much wide open. There's 50 points that can be scored in a race if you get the race win. 51 points, in fact, if you get the one bonus point for getting the fastest lap in the race. So we're still very much there in basically the top 5, 6, 7. Yeah, top 7 drivers are still all within a possible shout of getting the championship here in before the season ends. So that'll be interesting. But let's take a look at some of the drivers who are out on the circuit in these very dark conditions. There we can see Speedy Go, Jorgurk's teammate. Just bear with me one moment. That whilst we've now got this this live stream now up and fired and underway, I'm just going to very quickly share out the live stream link so we can get some more people in here as well, because obviously with those issues that we had at the very beginning, that's gone and missed everything. Gone and messed everything up in terms of getting viewership here on this live stream. So paste that there, so everyone in the Discord now knows about it. But thank you very much for everyone who has joined in so far in this session. I also want to shout out a pretty big shout out to Inky Chris's grandparents who watch these live streams live. Very much appreciated with your company coming in and viewing these. All the drivers were really taken back by finding out that bit of news, and yeah, it is really cool to have you guys along with us as well for these races. Hopefully you managed to find this live stream all well and good. So Delgado's at the top of the leaderboard, but he hasn't actually set a time yet. Neither has Atomic. JK16 in his BMW M6, he's just coming towards the start-finish line now. And there he goes across the line, setting a provisional P2 time for the moment. But yes. He's dropping down the board at the moment. Apologies for this. Whilst I'm just quickly getting these tweets out for other people. PC League link is broken. Put that in there. And so, you're right, I do still have the leaderboard on the screen, apologies for that. I will get everything sorted. Right. Links now out, sent. Phone to the side. Let's get on with this qualifying session as we're into the final 9 minutes and 30 odd seconds. At least you guys got a fairly good look at the championship standings there, but this man at the moment, strongest Avenger, currently provisional pole time of 154.5, 3.5 temps clear of Dynamite Alive, a newcomer to the season. Done a couple of races so far. Didn't have the best of race last time out. Well, actually, I say that. He had a pretty good race last time out. He came third. It was, who was it I was thinking of? It was Lumi, I believe, that didn't have the best of races. He was having a very good race, to be fair to him. Coming from near enough the back of the grid, working his way up through the field, getting right up to the front, and he was starting to streak away into the race lead. And then unfortunately we were hit with a number of disconnects, and he was unfortunately one of those people who got disconnected from the front of the field. So yeah, really unfortunate for him. Hopefully he can turn things around this time round in round 9 though, and can have a good season. Hopefully that is all of our technical issues done and out the way. I said to the rest of the commentators this evening on all the other tiers and platforms that we cover here for Project Cars 2 that hopefully we can have a technical free night with some good racing. Of course, the commentator cursed it straight from the off. So, yep, Lumi at the moment, he's on a outlap. He's just going to be warming up the tyres, trying to bring them up to temperature and everything. Fuba at the moment currently P5 in the provisional standings. He is P4 currently here for this round, 0.8 of a second off the leader, but he's just over 0.2 of a second off the back of Lumi. So there is scope for him to potentially improve on his position. JK16 we saw earlier on. Here he comes flying into turn 1, down through the gears into third, and sings the car into turn 2. Godfather of Shift up there in P6 at the moment in the Porsche 911. It's good to see the Porsches faring a little bit better. They've had a pretty rough start to the season. We saw them earlier on at Ruin having a fairly good time. They were doing alright there, and then pretty much ever since they've really struggled for whatever reason. There is Andrax, our current championship leader. He's currently in provisional P7. Tony Clifton currently provisionally P8. There is Alan going through turn 2 in his Mercedes, provisional P9. There is Inky Chris, our fan favourite. He's currently there in a provisional P10, and he's just coming up towards the final corner. So we'll jump on board with him in the roof cam, and hopefully, if he's going for another lap here, we can do a lap guide for you. So half a temp up on his previous fastest, approaching turn 1, sticking to the left hand side. We'll be braking just before we get to the 50 metre board, down into third gear for Inky Chris. Most cars will be using down into second gear. Most cars will be using third, and he's bailed out of the lap, so she'll try and find someone else. Lumi on the back straight. Strongest Avenger's coming towards the end of the lap though. He's in the final sector. Got 8 litres of fuel remaining, so hopefully he will be pushing on for another lap, and that will give us the opportunity to do a lap guide for you. So here we go, across the start finish line. Oh, look at that, 300s off his previous best. So again, we'll be looking for our braking point just after the 100 metre board, about 70 metres before the corner, shifting down into third gear. Does hold third, clips the apex quite nicely, then comes into turn 2, which is completely flat out. Nice and smooth through there. Trying to open up turn 3 as much as he possibly can. Also coming through turn 4, now coming to the left-hander of turn 5, for down into 3rd, then down into 2nd for turn 7, been through turn 6. Come out the exit of that rear end of the car, really stepping out sideways, now coming into turn 8, or into turn 9, crucial corner, try and get a good run off the exit here, across the split timing line. He's a 10th and a half off his previous fastest at the moment, but we've still got 2 sectors to go. Then got an opportunity to kind of relax as we come down this long back straight on towards the hairpin of turn 10. Just before we get to the 100-meter board, down into 1st gear, hooking up the apex quite nicely and hangs it really tight there on the exit of the corner to really try and open up turn 11. Which managed to do so. 100 brake marker board down into 2nd gear for turn 12. Car wandering around, and he's unfortunately bailed out of this lap. So Lumi is just coming through turns 1 and 2. Dynamite Alive is there. We kind of want some similar sort of spot. So JK16 is coming through 2nd to last corner. So here we go. Godfather of shift. He's just coming into turn 14 now. Down into 2nd gear. Late apex on this one. Open up the penultimate turn, turn 15. Does so quite nicely, and then turn 16, last corner, a tricky and slightly misleading one, turning slightly later than you think, and he goes and improves by a substantial margin, 0.7 of a second, pops himself up into a provisional P3. He'll be very happy with that time right there. Very good and impressive stuff, so it's made it very close with the top 4. JK16 has just started another flying lap. But yeah, a total of 16 corners here at Dubai Autodrome. Circuit length 3.34 miles, which equates to 5.37 kilometers in total. My laptop is awfully warm. Hopefully the picture quality and the frame rate and audio is all good and everything for you guys. It's not stuttering too much or anything like that. I know that sometimes when my laptop gets pretty warm, it does struggle in terms of cooling, but hopefully that's not the case here. Bubars is coming through the penultimate turn. Wonder if he is on a flying lap and whether he'll be able to improve on his time. We shall see very, very shortly. Coming through final corner and across the start-finish line. No, he's 3 seconds off his previous fastest, so he's obviously bailed out on the previous lap, possibly some traffic somewhere along the line. There's Inky Chris, there he is, just going through turn 1 at the moment. He's down in 12th position. He'll certainly be looking to improve. Actually, is 1.7 seconds off the previous fastest time he's got. Really go that quite slow at the apex of one of the turns. That was turn 6, I believe. Hopefully that hasn't impeded him. He's got Elgato just up there in front of him. Got very wide there on the big corner of turn 9. Inky Chris at the moment is 2 tenths off. Thank you very much, Eurogeek, for the confirmation there. It's very much appreciated, and glad to hear it as well. Oh, Inky Chris getting very close to the back of Delgado. For some reason ended up ghosting there. Going through turns 10 and 11, but hopefully that hasn't slowed Inky Chris down, and he's still on for a good lap. Going through turn 12 on the run towards turn 13, which is this left-handed kink here. He's still 0.16 of a second off his previous fastest, so there is scope for improvement here, and even if he can find just like 2-3 tenths, you could see himself improve by a position or 2. Comes into the final corner now, turns in quite early. Nice smooth run on the exit. Still that 0.14, 0.16 sort of margin off his previous fastest. He's got 3.6 litres of fuel remaining, so should be able to go on for another lap here and hopefully improve on his time. Lumi, for the moment, well, he's going to be no better than 4th position. We've got 10 seconds here remaining in the session. Godfather of Shift also is not going to be improving. Dynamite Alive has just come across the start-finish line to start his final flying lap. Where is Strongest Avenger? He's just coming into the final corner now. So we'll ride with him for the moment, just to see whether he will improve on his provisional pole time. And indeed he does, by quite a bit as well. A 154.1, that puts him 7/10 of a second clear to Dynamite Alive, who's going to be the last man across the line. JK16 is going to be the next driver across the line. Does he improve on his time? No, he doesn't, so he's still there for the moment. Fubar is still circulating around. He's got time to finish his lap, as well as Trip. Andrex now has come across the start-finish line. He's going to be no better than P9. Inky Chris just come off of turn 11 on the run down towards turn 12, so he's going to be very soon approaching that final sector. Here comes Pathos to the line. No. Does he improve on his P15? No, he does not. Jobs has completed his final lap. I think Inky Chris is going to be our next driver to come across the start-finish line, so we'll ride with him, come through the very long and technical turn 14. That looked nice, neat and tidy. Likewise for the penultimate turn. So now it's just the final corner to go for Inky Chris. Coming in now through the apex, using a little bit of curb on the exit, but not troubling it too much. He hasn't improved on his time there either. Very interesting. So we've got a few more drivers to go. Fubar was the next driver, if I remember correctly. Here he comes off the final corner now. Will he improve on P6? No, it doesn't look like he has. Trip does though. He goes and pops himself up into a provisional P6. It drops Fubar down into P7, and here is your final confirmation of the results then. Strongest Avenger taking pole position by 7/10 of a second, with Dynamite Alive taking up P2. Godfather of Shift in his Porsche there in 3rd position. Lumi will start in 4th. JK16 in 5th place. Trip there in 6th position. Fubar in 7th. Alan in P8. Andrex in P9, and then Tony Clifton rounds out the top 10. WMDR Martin there in P11. Inky Chris in P12 of As Turbo. P13 Speedy Go occupies P14 with Paphos in P15. 16 is occupied by Barrett's Mr. Zach, sorry. Then 17th position with Jobsk in 18th. Stephen Curry in 19th position. Delgado in P20. Clank in 21st. Nash in 22nd position with Otto Winkler in 23rd. Batworm in 24th. Baptista in 25th. Atomic 26th. And then Yogurt in 27th. Both the final 2 drivers, Atomic and Yogurt, serving qualifying bans. I didn't mention Atomic's qualifying ban here in this session because I couldn't quite remember if he was present or not for Zhuhai, as he got a qualifying ban after Azure circuit. He starting from the back of the grid as well as Jorguk. So we've got our 2-minute grace period where the drivers just have an opportunity to recollect their thoughts, get themselves prepared and ready, make sure they've got an appropriate pit strategy applied here for this race, because the drivers will need to serve a mandatory pit stop. They don't necessarily need to service the car, but they do need to stop in their pit box and try and get themselves sorted in the quickest possible time to get back on the circuit, and they don't lose too much time in the pits. And of course they need to make sure that they got the correct race setup applied to the car as well, ready for the session. And thank you very much for the confirmation, Mike. It was correct in that Atomic wasn't there for the Zhuhai round, hence him serving his qualifying ban here. So it's going to be a total of 30 laps, 1 manual formation lap, 29 racing laps. We're here in the night with pretty stable conditions. It's meant to be clear weather conditions from lights to flag, and then we also have a single normal times time acceleration. So we're very much going to be here the early hours of the morning, with the race starting at 4 AM, so it'll be 5 AM in-game time when the race finishes. Possibly some light starting to form on the horizon, but with this actually being set to an autumn date, 21st of October in fact, we may not actually see any sort of distant sunlight on the horizon whatsoever. The date has been chosen mainly because of the cooler conditions. Why Autodrome is obviously being out in the desert. Generally tends to be really quite warm, and therefore track temperatures tend to be quite hot. Quite a difficult circuit to manage the tyres, and to make things a little bit easier, the coordinators of the league have been very, very kind and bumped the date back, so the conditions will be much, much cooler than what the drivers are used to. So you can see some drivers are opting to do some tyre warming, others opting to not. Strongest Avenger, one of those who isn't doing any tyre weaving at all. Okay, now he's doing a very tiny bit, but he wasn't for the first part of the lap at least. Whereas Dynamite Alive behind him was very much doing, not loads, but a reasonable amount of tyre warming. There you can see, Strongest doing a very good job of sticking to the advised speed limits on this manual formation lap, which is 120 kilometers an hour, which is 80 miles an hour. Then once they get to the formation point, which is just after turn, well, actually just before turn 13 and on the approach to turn 14, drivers will slow down, reduce their speeds to 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour, and form up in a 2x2 formation at that point as well. So obviously get underway, ready for the acceleration zone, which is from the exit of the final corner to the actual start-finish line itself. Anywhere in that zone, Strongest Avenger can put his foot down. He has to do it in one smooth motion, so we can't jump or fake the start. And at that point, we are underway racing. It tends to be that obviously pole position is the best position to be in, but the next second best position is actually P3, not P2, because P2 has a little bit of a difficult time trying to get a good view of P1 and reacting appropriately, whereas P3 is obviously directly behind P1 in the same train and is therefore able to react much quicker and much easier. So Godfather of Shift is in a very good position to be taking P2 away from Dynamite Alive coming into turn 1, but we shall see. All depends on what kind of start that they get. So you see very much in the 2x2 formation. Cars sounding absolutely fantastic as they are rolling towards the final turn here, and it'll be from any moment between now and the start finish line we can go racing. How good does this grid look as a few of the cars are accelerating off the final turn? We are underway. We should be underway racing. We should be underway racing. Why are the drivers not accelerating? What is going on here? This is very unusual. They would have started accelerating by the start-finish line, but it looks like we're underway now. Very interesting start. So Strongest Avenger has not benefited from that at all, and in fact it's been Dynamite Alive who comes out with the race lead coming through turns 1 and 2. Looks like a lot of the drivers are getting through pretty cleanly, which is all very good and nice to see. But Lumi's got himself up into P2 ahead of Strongest Avenger as they're coming through turn 6 now. That was a very unusual and interesting start there for all the drivers. Obviously something was being discussed in Discord between all the drivers as they were filtering their way through, but that has completely blown out and contradicted what I was saying there at the start of the race, where P3 is usually the best spot to be in. Actually turned out to be P2. So Strongest Avenger finds himself probably pretty hard done by and down there in P3 now, and it seems like the two Lamborghinis in front of him of Dynamite Alive and Lumi starting to break away as it come through turn 10 there. Look like there's some battling going on between Godfather of Shift and Trip, who's also, well, Trip has had a relatively good start there in P6, but Godfather's Shift has dropped down from P3, lost 2 positions, now finds himself in P5. Andrax is up into P7. Inky Chris has gained a single position, is now up into P11, but he's very much under threat from Speedy Go, who's looking to his inside. We've also got there as well As Turbo looking to the outside. Not going to be 3 wide yet, but Speedy Go goes for the lunge down the inside of Inky Chris. Manages to get it slowed down, but Inky Chris goes for the switchback move there. Pathos also trying to cash in on the fight as well and picks up the position off of As Turbo. It seems like drivers are trying to filter them through and settle themselves down into a somewhat bit more of a regular order, but there's still some battling going on. We saw As Turbo and Mr. Zach trading positions. As Turbo now finds himself down into P13, and it's Tripp who is the first of the front runners to make the jump into the pit lane, as well as Otto Winkler. Oh, Otto Winkler's got an awful lot of damage to the front left corner of his Porsche 911. There we can see no headlights at all, so very much needed to come into the pit lane to get the front of that car repaired up, get the headlights back on. And there is Tripp coming out of the pit lane now. He accelerates away, so he is our benchmark man as to drivers who has already served their mandatory pit stop. He came in from P6. Let's jump back up to the head of the field, and Strongest Avenger has managed to close back up onto the rear of Lumi. He's gotten himself closer, not quite close enough to make the move here coming into turn 10 though. Certainly seems like the Lamborghinis have the legs on the straights, but we know that Strongest Avenger in his Cura is very, very good coming through the corners. We just saw there in the background JK16 leading Godfather or Shift. Godfather now up into P5 after Tripp has gone and visited the pit lane. He's got the big BMW M6 up in front of him. Of JK a little bit further back, we can see some battling going on. Tony Clifton leading the way between WMDR Martin and Inky Chris. Inky Chris very much there, looking to try and make the move, potentially coming into T14. Doesn't quite go for it. WMDR Martin doing a good job of defending it. Inky Chris almost gets his nose up in and alongside, and actually, in fact, in the background there, we almost had a 3-wide situation between Pathos, Speedy Go, and As Turbo. Pathos and Speedy Go coming very close to trading paint there, coming through the penultimate turn. We've got Mr. Zach lunging down the inside of As Turbo, but As Turbo slams the door shut on him and prevents that move from happening. So Barrett, who's very much there on the back of Mr. Zach, is now looking like he is threatening that P14, although Mr. Zach has also got the slipstream off of As Turbo as they come on the run down towards turn 1. Mr. Zach going for the move on the inside. As Turbo gives him the racing room. So we're going to be side by side for the moment as they come through turns 1 and 2. Barrett is now there on the outside. It's not quite enough of an overlap, but As Turbo still gives a car whip at the apex just to avoid any potential contact. Oh, that's Mr. Zach going very deep there through turn 5 and into turn 6. That's going to cost him 1 position at least, and he's now very much under threat from Delgado, who's now dropped back down into P15. I've just seen that Jorguk is also another driver who's gone and visited the pit lane, which is probably a smart move for him, having started at the back of the grid. As we've got side by side between Delgado and Mr. Zach off the exit of turn 9. 2 of them brushing panels there, coming off the exit of the corner and almost sending each other off to the Armco barrier, but they managed to keep themselves out of that one. We've got Clank trying to cash in here in the Ferrari 488 as well on the outside. Stephen Curry is also here, the lead coordinator, also trying to make up some positions. Just trying to find a way past Clank, and side by side between those two as they go through turn 11 for the moment. It's going to be on the outside for turn 12, the long way around, and this hairpin, will he be able to pull the move off here? Clank gives him the racing room on the exit. That could allow Stephen Curry the drive that he needs off the corner. He's going to have the inside line for turn 13, and it certainly seems like Lamborghini has the legs over to Ferrari and has the move done and dusted before they get to the braking zone for turn 14. So Stephen Curry now up into P17, as we can see. Hunt the cars down in front of him. No one else diving into the pit lane as of yet. Otto Winkler, we've seen, has been into the pits, as well as Tripp. So only 3 drivers at the moment have been into the pit lane. We've got As Turbo and Speedy Go side by side on the approach towards turn 1 here. There we can see As Turbo on the right hand side of the screen on the inside line coming into the first corner. Speedy Go concedes the position from now and takes up the apex, loses a whole bunch of car lengths in that process as well. Paphos leading this train at the moment there in P11, so as Turbo gains one position, stops himself up into P12 and eyes his sights on the Audi R8 up in front of him. Inky Chris still trying to find a way past WMDR Martin, playing on the pad. The only pad driver here in the league, as far as I know. Inky trying to pick up the slipstream here, but WMDR Martin has the slipstream off Tony Clifton. Martin moves to make his defensive manoeuvre there, coming into turn 10, but Inky Chris getting a pretty good switch back here off the exit of the corner. He's going to be on the outside though for turn 11, but he could hold it on the outside here. Looks like he's doing a very good job of that. It's going to give him the inside line coming into turn 12. Will he be able to get the move done and dusted under braking and through the apex? It looks like he has. WMDR Martin trying to get the drive off the corner though, but wasn't quite able to translate the power to the tarmac and concedes the position. So good move there by Inky Chris, capitalising on WMDR Martin being quite defensive into the turn 10 hairpin. Now he's looking at the back of the Audi R8 of Tony Clifton up in front. Alan is there on the back of Andrax, our current championship leader. Fairly close between these two. You see the top three haven't changed positions. And likewise with JK16 and Godfather of Shift as well. They haven't changed positions. But here comes Alan on the run down towards turn 1. That was a quick flash of lights there from Andrax to what would usually indicate I'm not going to fight the and defend the position if you go for the inside move, but Alan decides to not even bother sticking his nose there on the inside coming into turn 1. But they follow each other through for the moment. Chris will be relieved that he's dispatched WMDR Martin and can hunt down Tony Clifton. He's got the gap to within half a second, just a car length or two already. As you can see, he's come into the long left-hander of turn 9 here. It's fairly close and he's hooking up a much better apex as well, which could give him a better run coming off the corner. He's in the slipstream now. Tony Clifton looking fairly defensive. He moves back over to resume his run on the racing line. Inky Chris just lifting a little bit earlier just to avoid sailing into the back of the Audi R8, and he now finds himself in a similar position to how he was with WMDR Martin on the previous lap. This time though goes for the switchback as he didn't have the overlap. This has given him a good run on the outside towards turn 12. Will he be able to hang it around the outside here? Or is he going to go for... I think he tried to go for a bit of a switchback there, but didn't quite work off, pull that one off and work out for him. So still on the back of the Audi R8 for the moment, coming through turn 13 now hard onto the brakes, coming into turn 14, going for the move down the inside. A little bit of door panel rubbing there between the two of them as they came in towards the apex. I don't think Tony Clifton quite realised that Inky Chris was there up alongside him. I think Inky Chris had the racing room, and now he goes and dives into the pit lane to serve his mandatory pit stop, as well as Alan in front of him. So Inky Chris very much thinking that he's got the pace over Tony Clifton, and rather than trying to muscle his way past on the circuit, he's going to go and dive into the pit lane instead and try and find himself some clear air to start banging in the quick lap times and try and make the jump and the move up through a couple of positions via the pit stop. My God, that was a good quick pit stop for Inky Chris there. Alan was held for a good 5-6 seconds or so. I think Inky Chris was only being held for about 4 odd seconds. So he certainly gained some time on the Mercedes in front of him. We've also got Speedy Go into the pit lane. But where are they going to come out in relation to Tripp? Here he comes, coming down the start-finish line. He's got Batman for company. He's got a couple of cars up in front of him for company as well. And Tripp comes out just behind Inky Chris. Now that is crucial, considering that Tripp came into the pit lane from P6 and Inky Chris came in to the pit lane from P9. So Tripp has obviously lost a whole bunch of time somewhere along the line, and you can obviously see on this lap 2 minutes flat .760 was his lap time. Inky Chris with a 2:02, so I think Tripp may have had a spin somewhere along the line. Atomic is now fairly close on the back here, as well as Fatworm. Yorgurt out there in 20 third position. His teammate Speedy Go is now there in 24th. Oh, who's that? Who's had a spin there? Oh, that is Tripp. Tripp's had a spin off the exit of turn 9. That's going to cost him a whole bunch of positions, and now he finds himself down in P24. It's very, very unfortunate for him. It's obviously going to cause some frustration. He must be struggling with the tyres. Let's jump up to the race leaders because we got a battle on here. Less than 3 tenths between P2 and P3. Strongest Avenger taking 1/10.5 out of Lumi on the previous lap. Dynamite Live has been continuing to steadily increase the gap. Strongest Avenger with a much smoother run there through turn 1. See he's closing up on the Lamborghini in front of him, picking up the apex a lot nicer coming through turn 4, though bounced on the curb there, settled the car a little bit, but closes up quite a lot under braking coming through turn 6. Now into turn 7. This is potentially giving him a good opportunity to try and pick up the slipstream. Coming down the long back straight, only you can hook up a good line coming through. Turn 9 here takes a very wide approach. This is good. But now the legs of the Lamborghini start to stretch. Sneakers deployed. And Lumi's starting to run and pull out a few car lengths over Strongest Avenger. Doesn't have the strongest of engines coming down the that back straight there. Either that or it's just the aero setups that the cars are running. Lumi possibly lower downforce setup than what Strongest Avenger is running. It's most likely the case because the Acura does have some pretty good straight line speed in the real world. And again, that is the more recent iterations of the Acura, whereas obviously Project Cars has been out for over 3 years now. Therefore, it would have been based off the Acura GT3 car back when the game was in development. Strongest Avenger all the time lurking and trying to find a way past Lumi. A couple of alternate lines being used here. He's forced Lumi to go defensive coming into the first turn. This is actually helping JK16 close up onto the back of these two cars as well. There you can see him. Godfather of Shift is not too far behind either. So Lumi very much starting to feel the pressure. Gap to the race leader between himself and the race leader, shall I say, is now over 4 seconds. Strongest very much wanting to try and find a way past when he possibly can. Inky Chris is still there on the back of Alan, and who is that? Oh, that's Tony Clifton. Tony Clifton has been in through the pit lane and out, and has come out ahead of both Alan and Inky Chris. That is going to be a little bit frustrating for Inky Chris, I think, as he obviously dived into the pit lane trying to do the undercut and trying to come out ahead of Tony Clifton, but it's not worked. Tony Clifton countered it by doing an early pit stop, trying to avoid losing too much time. So what is the state of play with the drivers in and around P6? So Andrex is now all on his own, with Alan having dropped off the back of him when doing his mandatory pit stop. WMDR Martin is now up into P7, running into pretty clear air. 4.5 seconds off the back of Andrex at the moment, and just over 1.5 seconds ahead of Paphos. There he is. Paphos has got 1.5 seconds there, thereabouts, to As Turbo in P9 now. And then Barrett's has dropped off the back of As Turbo, finds himself in a bit of clear air, seconds ahead of Delgado. Mr. Zach is fading close to the back of Delgado. We saw them battling earlier on. 5 to 10 minutes ago. Stephen Curry now got himself up into P13, but obviously these drivers are all yet to make their mandatory pit stop as Atomic is into the pit lane. See there, Clank coming through. He's in 14th position at the moment. Ticker Nash just behind. 6 attempts. He's there in P15. Yobs, he's 16, and then Tony Clifton half a second off the back of Yobs. So imagine these guys will be passing through Yobs fairly quickly. Just the pace difference between the drivers. And yep, Yobs moves quite comfortably out the way of Tony Clifton there. Doesn't really impede him. They're side by side coming through the long left-hander of turn 4. He's actually on the inside as well and taking away the apex coming through the penultimate turn. It's going to help out Alan and allow him to close up. The yacht just doesn't impede these drivers too much. allows them to slip on through. He's given them plenty of racing room, which is good. Chris trying to pick up the slipstream of Jobst here coming down the start-finish straight. Got some ground to close up before he can send it down the inside coming into turn 1. Making it nice and smooth through the first corner, nailing their marks. Now Inca Chris getting caught up behind the traffic. Jobst doesn't have to move out the way. It is a battle for position. It's just a case of basically different times in strategy. So in some cases it's better to just let the other drivers go on through and not really worry about losing too much time. But we can see that Inca Chris is losing ground to Alan and Tony Clifton up ahead. And he hasn't got the slipstream coming down this long back straight either. See, he's lost 2.3 seconds off his previous fastest lap time. It's going to be frustrating for him. You can see the gap there has now developed between the two, but fortunately for Inca Chris, Tony Clifton is coming up towards the back of the battle between Clank and Tikanash, who have actually swapped positions since we last saw them just a moment ago. Tikanash didn't have the best of previous laps and must have made a mistake here on this current lap. Strongest Avenger has lost a position to JK16. Just looking there at the leaderboard, Lumi's still there in second place, and one of the fastest laps of the race, I believe, with a 56.760. But Strongest Avenger has now found himself behind a rather big BMW. Though Lumi is only just up ahead, so we'll keep an eye on this this three-way fight for the second podium spot, P2 overall. Strongest Avenger trying to get a good run coming off here. We have the benefit of the double slipstream this time, and the BMW probably not quite as quick in the straight line as the Lamborghini. And here you can see Strongest Avenger looking to the inside as we come onto the brakes into turn 10. The Strongest Avenger not quite able to get up his nose up alongside JK16, making it very tight at the apex. Tries to open up turn 11 as much as possible for himself and manages to keep the Acura driver behind for the moment. But Strongest Avenger looking down the inside coming into turn 12. Racing room given. This is good, fair, respectable racing between the two of them. This is what we like to see. For the moment, Strongest Avenger still in P4. JK16 still holding on to that final podium spot by only a single car length. Strongest tries to sling it around the outside in the long left-hander of turn 14. He's going to have his work cut out there to make that one work. Tries to find the run coming off turn 15 there, but that didn't quite work. And JK16 diving into the pit lane now, probably not wanting to lose too much time, losing and battling away for position. And he's now dropped down into, well, P5 because obviously he's in the pit lane, so he's serving his mandatory pit stop. Where is Jorgek? He's actually now ahead of Inca Chris, as we can see. Inca Chris has ceded the position. It's very unfortunate to be getting caught up with some frustrations trying to work his way through the traffic. Jorgek got 1.7 seconds just up in front. We've got Alan and Tony Clifton battling away coming into the final corner. This is good for the two drivers behind them. It's going to allow those two guys to close up. And indeed, Jorgek has taken about 0.4 of a second out in the final sector alone. Alan not going for the move coming in towards turn 1 though. Instead just chooses to follow Pony in front of him for the moment. They're coming through turns 3 and 4, now into turn 5, and then into turn 6. And Mike, to answer your earlier question as to whether I'm going to be commentating on the Formula Renault 3.5 League, I will not, unfortunately. Doesn't really fit well into my schedule, but we will be having coverage here on the AOR channel for that league, both on the PS4 platform, being commentated by Evil Dragon, and potentially another commentator if we can find another one to sit alongside him. And then on the PC platform, commentated by Thompson, who is our new Tier 2 commentator here at AOR. And if anyone is interested in becoming a commentator, feel free to drop me a direct message either on Discord or on the AOR forums. Give me links to your highlight reel, let me know what kind of experience you have, and basically any past commentary videos that you've done. Let me see those and we'll see if you'd be a suitable fit here at AOR. But we've just seen that Alan has managed to get himself past Tick and Nash. Yoga is now very much there on the back of Alan, and now Inky Chris comes into the fray. Lumi has just been into the pit lane and dropped down into P8. He comes out just ahead of JK16, so he's maintained that position, but Alan now very much under threat from Yogok as we're coming down the start-finish straight on the run down towards turn 1. The Lamborghini's got the inside line. Will he be able to make the move? Sticker will Alan try and defend around the outside. Alan concedes the position for now and slots in behind the Lamborghini driver. So that's Yogok now up into P14, though more places to be gained once the other drivers up ahead get their pit stops done and served and out the way as we're approaching the halfway mark. We're not quite there yet, but we will be fairly soon. Alan's not giving up without the fight though. Still trying to come back at Yogok, trying to get a nice sweeping line through turn 9 to really give himself a good run onto the long back straight here. He's going to be in the slipstream of the Lamborghini in front of him. Yogok going very defensive as we approach the braking zone now. Will Alan be able to make the move around the outside, braking hard and late on the brakes? Yogok holds his line for the moment and holds onto the position. Alan going for the shorter route, trying to snip up the inside and stick his nose in there for P11, but Yogok wasn't having any of that and tried to close the door on him there. As Dynamite Alive is pitting from the race lead. Certainly seems to be the favourite here for this race. Good 3.5 to 4 seconds ahead of Lumi when he came into the pit lane. Well, when Lumi came into the pit lane, that is. I believe Dynamite Alive is now out of the pit lane and back out onto the circuit. He resumes his race from P6. All the drivers in front of him obviously yet to make their mandatory pit stop. Yogok now up into P14. He'll be happy with that. Inky Chris is now very much here on the back of Alan as well. But they are starting to lose a little bit of ground to Tony Clifton. He's disappearing up in front as well, as we can see. Oh, excuse me, just taking a swig of water there. JK16 getting pretty close to the back of Lumi, there or thereabouts, with a second or so. Dynamite Alive and a little bit of a look to the inside of Paphos. Paphos will be very much aware that this is the race leader, or net race leader shall I say, trying to come through. Interested to see whether Paphos actually tries to defend the position and hold Dynamite Alive up, or whether he will just let him step on through and continue on his merry way. See, Paphos doesn't want to lose too much time because he's trying to hunt down WMDR Martin, but here comes Dynamite Alive with the move down the inside into turn 14. Nice and easy there, under braking. Takes that one away from Paphos without him really fighting it too much, although Paphos came pretty close to the back of the Lamborghini at the apex and coming off the corner, taking the wider sweeping line, able to carry a bit more speed going through and into the apex. Unleash the net race leader for the moment. JK16 still trying to hunt down Lumi here. Lumi is a second and a half off the back of As Turbo and trying to close up on him. Turns to the fight between Alan Yogok and Inky Chris, all lurking in and around half a second of each other at the moment. Tony Clifton's closed up onto the back of Stephen Curry as well. Things are getting fairly close between those drivers as well. No change of positions. They come into turn 1 and turn 2 here. Nice and easy does it by the drivers for the moment. Whilst things are relatively quiet, let's take a look at the penalties that the drivers have got. So strongest Avenger with 4-second penalty. His name, WMDR Martin with 2 seconds, as well as Pathos. JK16 with 3-second penalty. Delgado with 1. 4 for Mr. Zach, 6 for Stephen Curry. Tony Clifton with 3 seconds, as well as Jorguk. Speedy Go with 13-second penalty. 10 seconds of that must have been picked up from speeding in the pit lane. 3 seconds there for Barrett's Clank has got 2 seconds, 1 second for Tick and Nash. Jobs has got 2 seconds and 1 second for Atomic. And Jorguk to pick up the action once again, making this car a little bit defensive to Alan coming into the turn 10 hairpin there. Managed to close up onto the back of Tony Clifton once again. They've caught up to the back of Stephen Curry, and Tony has yet to find a way past. Once they dispatch Tony, they're not too far off the back of Mr. Zach and also As Turbo, so 4-car train will be trying to work its way through the traffic very, very soon. Things will be very, very close between all those drivers, but jump down to the bumper cam, come into the last corner. Jorguk's going to have a better run off the exit here in comparison to Tony Clifton. But Tony Clifton actually managed to get the power down quite well. Jorguk's line looked like it would have been a little bit better there, judging by the sweeping approach in towards the entry in the apex. Coming into the first corner, a couple of the cars running a little bit deep. Jorguk closing up as we come through turn 2, getting very close to the back of the Audi R8, coming off the exit of the corner there. It's Tony's wrestling with the car, trying to keep it under control and breaking away from him. It came very, very close to contact. Don't think there was a touch, but that would have been very much a heart and mouth moment, and that definitely was a touch there. And that's going to be Alan slipping up the inside, coming through into turn 8 and now into turn 9, up the inside of Jorguk. He's going to have to hold it tight and defensive coming through here to try and hold on to that position. Jorguk hanging the tail out, coming out the exit of turn 9, and now this is allowing Ika Chris to get the good run coming off the exit of the corner. It's going to be side-by-side drag race between the two of them, coming down this long back straight down on towards the run into the hairpin of turn 10. Alan's looking down the inside of Tony Clifton. Looks like he's managed to get the move done. Jorguk has gone and lost a position to Inky Chris as well. So two lots of position swapping going on there. Down that one straight and into that one corner. But Jorguk is looking down the inside of Inky Chris coming into turn 12 here. This is Atomic trying to get out the way of these drivers as he's running at the back of the grid. Jorguk's managed to retake P15 for the moment. Inky Chris is still very much there in a threatening position, having a look to the inside coming in towards turn 14, but Jorguk late on the brakes as well. Holds his line, holds off the Z4 behind him for the meantime, and Alan's right there on the back of Stephen Curry trying to find a way past. This is going to allow Tony Clifton to close up those couple of car lengths as well. Now Jorguk looks like he's got a very good run coming off the exit here. Onto the start finish straight. He clocked over the halfway mark now. On the approach towards the first turn, we can see up ahead Stephen Curry going defensive to Alan into the first corner. This is going to play very nicely into the hands of these drivers here. Here comes Jorguk looking down the inside of Tony Clifton coming into turn 3 and turn 4. Tony Clifton once again just trading a little bit of paint between himself and the Lamborghini driver going through those two corners. Still side by side 3, 4, 5 and now 6. I think Jorguk's managed to get the move done and dusted, but now Inky Chris trying to stick his nose in and try and benefit from this as well. Not quite able to do it, so he follows him through 8 and 9 for the moment. Instead tries to get the good run off the exit of the left-handed hairpin. Looks like that Alan is still on the back of Stephen Curry for the moment. Having a bit of a look into the braking zone. Not quite able to do anything there though. It's all very tense and very close between all these drivers here. Got good 6 cars, all within pretty close proximity. As Stephen Curry is closed up onto the back of Mr. Zack and is trying to make a move here as well. This could be Alan actually slipping up through. He's got his nose up alongside, coming through turn 13. Just needs to be good and late on the brakes here, coming into turn 14, and the position is going to be his. Jorget going down the inside as well. It's going to be potentially 3 wide coming through turn 14 at one point there. Just for a moment, Stephen Curry trying to come back at Jorget, coming through the penultimate turn. Jorget trying to get the move on Alan coming into the final corner, but dabs the brakes and slots in behind for the meantime. Obviously being patient and wanting to try and get a good drive off the exit here. May actually be side by side between himself and Alan, and yes it is. Lamborghini nosing ahead just for the moment coming down this start-finish straight, but I think Alan's starting to come back at him as we come down into turn 1 now. The Jorget's on the inside. This is going to be P12 that he is taking away. Pops Alan back down into P13. Now Inky Chris crawling all over the back of Tony Clifton and trying to find a way past Stephen Curry. He's also trying to well, I'm not too sure whether he's trying to get out of the way of these drivers or trying to block them, but he's very much in there, in and amongst the mix. Breaking up the scrap that we had here between the drivers. Tony Clifton just trying to bide his time and trying to find the right opportunistic moment to slip on through. This is surely Inky Chris's best opportunity, getting very close there to the back of Tony Clifton. Went to look to the inside, but Tony Clifton slammed that door shut, so now Inky Chris is there on the outside. Will he be able to get the switch back here? He's going to go for that move, or is he going to hang it around the outside and try and get the inside for turn 11? He's doing exactly that, but Tony Clifton slams the door shut in his face. Completely chops the nose off Inky Chris there. He sees the move coming and gets hard on the brakes and avoids making contact. Tony Clifton with very aggressive defensive driving. Jorget's now up into P11 as it got past Mr. Zack. Alan is trying to find his way past coming into turn 14 now. He does so quite nicely. Mr. Zack holds onto his position ahead of Stephen Curry. They're still on through. As Turbo now into the pit lane. So his mandatory pit stop. There goes Mr. Zack diving into the pit lane now, not really wanting to lose too much time to the rest of these drivers, knowing that Stephen Curry is there lurking, ready to pounce on any potential mistake. It's quite a high pressure situation this, with the faster guys coming through. Need to keep a level head. Very easy to make a mistake in these kind of circumstances. That's Turbo back out of the pit lane. He's coming out just ahead of Trip, who's there alongside Speedy Go, defensive to him. Holds on to that P16 at the moment, but Tripp has gone and lost a whole bunch of positions after his early mandatory pit stop at the end of the first racing lap. So that strategy has not worked out for him. What's going on here? We got JK16, Paphos, and also Lumi all very close together coming through turn 11. JK16 just about manages to slip his way through up the inside going through turn 11. Lumi now gets the better of Paphos coming through turn 12. So those two drivers dispatch the Audi R8 driver. Get themselves up into 6th and 7th position, with Paphos now down in P8. Going back here with Tony Clifton and Inky Chris still behind Stephen Curry at the moment, although Stephen Curry struggled there with the traction. This is going to be Tony Clifton nipping up the inside. Contact between the two. That's them running both off wide. Tony Clifton not happy with that. Obviously wanted to try and slip on through, but that's gone and gifted the positions to Inky Chris without him having to do much work there at all. So Inky Chris now up into P12. Tony Clifton still in P13, gains a position, loses a position. And then Stephen Curry drops down into P14. But like Stephen probably could have let these guys go through without holding them up, putting up quite as much of a fight as he did. Probably wouldn't have cost him quite so much time finding himself in that kind of situation. It's also going to make it difficult for him to jump Mr. Zack in the pit lane strategy game. Elgato sailing into the pits to serve his mandatory pit stop. Oh, he's overshot his pit box a little bit. That's going to be detrimental to his time. It's going to cost him valuable seconds there. Had to reverse a little bit to back up into his box once again. He's back underway. Oh dear, what's going on here? Why is my screen frozen? I can hear the game still going. For the moment, the game is very much frozen with strongest Avenger there, Elgato there. Bear with me a moment. Ah, okay. Fortunately, the game has just crashed for me. That is frustrating, so bear with me for a second whilst I quickly try and get myself back into the lobby. Hopefully we haven't lost any drivers. There was 25 at the time. That game crashed for me. It could be my laptop overheating. That is scorching hot down the side there. Very hot to touch at the top as well. Hopefully this will just be a fairly quick reboot of the game and we can get ourselves back in reasonably fast. Bear with me one moment. We've had a whole bunch of technical issues over the course of the last 3 weeks. And obviously a number of technical issues this evening. Not entirely sure what has been going on. Right, here we go, loading back into the lobby. It looks like we still have 25 drivers in, which is good. I'm very unfortunate for me at the moment. Things are not doing so great. So here we are, back into the lobby again, and we still have 25 drivers, which is good. Strongest Avenger still circulating round in the race lead for the moment. I do apologise that there is no sound for the second, but that will come back to us in a couple of laps time. So Dynamite Live there in P2. We can't see any of the gaps for the moment. Only really just see the cars circulating around. Just takes a short moment for the game to basically synchronize everything back up. Here, Lumi there in P4. JK16. You know, JK16 looks like he's in P4. Lumi looks like he's behind in P5. I think that Trip is in P6, but we know that that is incorrect. In fact, it's actually just showing the positions from the qualifying order. So Jorgert is not there down in P25. He is much further up through the field, as we well know. There is Alan. What is going on with Tony Clifton and then Chris? Chris still there in front for the moment. Tony Clifton lurking just behind. Now we see a Porsche. Stephen Curry is now into the pit lane. He's serving that. You think that WMDR Martin has served his mandatory pit stop? I don't think he has. Looks like he is still out circulating on the track. So here we go. Here's the sync up between all the drivers, and we'll get all the information and all the gaps and everything. Everybody will get shuffled about in just a second. There we go. So WMDR Martin is now up in P7. He's just off the back of Lumi, as we can see. Andrex, Godfather of Shift and Strongest Avenger all yet to still make their mandatory pit stop. Dynamite Alive, I think, is our still provisional race leader, who's very much right there on the back of Andrex. Andrex just flashing the lights, happy to concede the position for now and let him slip on through. See Yob's just going through the picture there with no headlights. Andrex knows there's no point in fighting that one. There are very different points in their race. Tony Clifton and Inky Chris still battling away. Wonder where they'll come out in relation to Andrex when Andrex makes his mandatory pit stop. I think he'll probably come out. Andrex will probably come out ahead of Jorgurk and Alan, or at least in and around that sort of battle. Depends how many seconds the drivers actually lose in the pit lane. It's a reasonably lengthy one here at this circuit. So I estimate it's probably going to be a good 30 seconds or so that the cars lose whilst going through the pit lane and serving that mandatory stop. Tony Clifton trying to find a way past Inky Chris going through turns 6 and 7, but wasn't close enough to really stick his nose in there. I think he was just presenting himself in the mirrors. It's still very much dark night sky in and around the circuit. But it is looking very, very nice here in these night conditions, with the track lighting as well. Oh, Tony Clifton pretty late on the brakes there, closing right up towards the rear of Inky Chris. The braking zone there, but unable to do anything with it. Paphos hunting down WMDR Martin. See the gap there between those two quite visibly. Lex in and around 0.6 of a second for the moment. They're on the approach down towards turn 1. They're on lap 24. Andrex flashing up with the exclamation mark every now and then to indicate that Dynamite Alive is fairly close. Well, Andrex is fairly close. In and around a second to Dynamite Alive. Still hunting down the race leader. 55.9. So let's take a look and see who's actually got the fastest lap of the race at the moment. It looks like Strongest Avenger does with his 55.4. That's very interesting. Keep banging in those consistent lap times. Dynamite Alive keeps finding himself in the odd bit of traffic, trying to navigate that every now and then. Going to work very nicely into Strongest Avenger's hands. Though in saying that, Dynamite Alive has got some pretty substantial clear air now. Next car up in front of him is Godfather of Shift, both in terms of position and also physically on the circuit. And there is a gap, or a car between Godfather of Shift and Strongest Avenger, but that might be Ticker Nash. Saw a flash through the picture there. Another very solid mid 155 for Strongest. He's certainly turning up the wick and trying to do what he possibly can to try and pick up the potential race win here. Tony Clifton still battling away with Inky Chris, being able to find a way back past as of yet, as that was Tony's teammate Fatworm that was in the foreground of the picture there. Struggling off the exit of turn 10. 6 laps remaining. Here comes Paphos into the pit lane, so this will be a number of drivers gaining some positions here. Here he is. Jorgurk will be the first, so he'll be up into P8. Good strong race by him so far. He's pushing on hard. So 56s. Dynamite Alive with a high 56 on the previous lap. 1.2 seconds, or 1.3 seconds should I say, between Strongest Avenger and Dynamite Alive on the previous lap. Ooh, As Turbo and Speedy Go, another battle as here on the circuit. 10ths of a second between those two. 4/10 of a second between these two as well. So two very close battles on track. All pushing on for the moment. Tony Clifton trying to pick up a slipstream of Inky Chris here. Now in the top 10. Goldfather Shift is making his mandatory pit stop. Tony Clifton closing up. Not quite close enough as they get into the braking zone. Z4 driver holds his nerve for the moment and maintains the position. How far is Godfather Shift going to drop down through standings order? He's stopped in his pit box and is rolling underway once again. Here he comes towards the pit exit line. Lumi's gone through. WMDR Martin is now into the pit lane as well. Where is Yogurt in relation to Godfather Shift? So Godfather Shift is just coming into turn 1 now. Yogurt is just coming out the exit of the final corner. So the entirety of the start-finish straight between those two drivers. Yogurt will pick up P7 from WMDR Martin, who's serving his mandatory pit stop here in the last few laps. Alan also goes through. Will Inky Chris and Tony Clifton go through though? That is the big question. WMDR Martin is off the limiter and underway and comes out quite comfortably, as we can see there in the foreground, ahead of this battle. So Inky Chris not going to be picking up that P9 for the moment unless he's able to close that gap down to WMDR Martin in front. 2.8 seconds is that gap. Paphos and Trip also close together. Paphos has come out of the pit lane on this previous lap, so his previous lap was the out lap, hence the 2 minute 26 for him. Trip now finds himself in P13, which will probably be scratching his head with a little bit. Oh, Strongest Avenger there with pit time penalty, pit violation. 16 seconds now is his time penalty that he has. 12 seconds for JK16. Stops in his pit box. There's just a misalignment there between what we're seeing and what he's seeing. He's now back rolling underway. Dynamite Alive is out through the exit of the final corner, coming across the start finish line now. Strongest is still approaching that pit speed limiter line. Dynamite Alive goes through. What about JK16? Where is he going to come out in relation to Strongest Avenger? It's going to be very close as we're on the run down towards turn 1. There is Strongest there, just coming out the pit lane in front of us. JK16 a few car lengths behind as we come through the first turn, but it's going to have the better run through turns 1 and 2, so maybe able to gain another car length or so. Coming through turns 3 and 4, gains a little bit more ground. This is going to ignite some life into the BMW driver and fill him with confidence in trying to pick up this position here. Or potentially P2, although of course both JK16 and Strongest Avenger have pretty substantial time penalties. Lumi is a second and a half off the back, so with that Strongest Avenger and JK16 will be dropping down into 4th and 5th positions, and Lumi will be picking up the final podium spot. That's if he can hold it close enough within 12 seconds of JK16 and within 16 seconds of Strongest Avenger. Tony Clifton and Inky Chris still close together. Pathos and Trip still close together as well, and As Turbo and Speedy Go reasonably close. And those two drivers have swapped positions, so Speedy Go has managed to get the measure of As Turbo and gain that 14th position. Now Strongest closes up onto the back of Andrex, who's still yet to serve his mandatory pit stop, which he'll be pitting probably very soon, if not this lap. Not going to be this lap. He continues to circulate around for the moment, probably going for the very last moment that he possibly can. Strongest Avenger there in the slipstream of the Audi in front of him. Felt that Andrex is going to be battling and holding Strongest Avenger up too much. They're coming through the first turn. Nice, smooth and steady they go. Andrex still leads the way for the moment. This is going to work very nicely into JK16's hands and also potentially allow Lumi to gain some ground as well. Strongest has looked to the inside as he holds it tight coming through turn 6 and into turn 7. Andrex gives the racing room, although doesn't really concede the position for now. Strongest Avenger trying to go around the outside of turn 8 and 9 here. This has brought JK16 right up into play, as we can see, jumping onto the rear bumper. He's going to have the double slipstream of Andrex and Strongest coming down this long back straight. Now Andrex lifts off the accelerator and concedes the position, but JK16 is in the place there to slip up the inside of Strongest Avenger here into the hairpin. Plenty of room given between the two. Strongest looks like he concedes the position for the moment, but through turn 11, very close to contact between the two drivers there, as both of them had a little bit of wiggle. I think there may have actually been a little bit of contact, but JK16 takes that second place for now, barring the obvious penalties that these two drivers have. There is Andrex and there is Lumi as well. He is right on the back of the Audi R8. Andrex at the flash of the lights saying to slip on through, not going to hold you up or impede you here. So Lumi is lurking right there off the back of the two cars in front and will comfortably pick up second position in this race, providing he doesn't make any mistakes. Now Andrex dives into the pit lane to serve his mandatory pit stop as we come on to the penultimate lap of the race now. Very close between these top 3-4 drivers here. Strongest Avenger really late on the brakes there. Managed to get it slowed down, taking a little bit of liberty there with the apex curve of turn 2. Looks like he's four-wheel drifting it through turns 3 and 4 there. That was really unusual as he gained a whole bunch of ground. I think Lumi's car was snaking around off the exit of 2 and into 3. I think he lost a bit of ground and momentum there when going through the next sequence of turns. But yeah, Lumi doesn't really need to push all that much. He just needs to excuse me, needs to make it nice and comfortable for himself and pick up the positions that he possibly can by hanging reasonably close to the two guys in front. The Strongest Avenger is trying to come back at JK16. In fact, as it stands at the moment, Strongest Avenger could end up dropping, or will end up dropping down behind Godfather of Shift. JK16 will also be doing the same as well, so Godfather will end up finding himself onto the final podium spot in P3. He'll be absolutely delighted with that, no doubt. Oh, Lumi's picked up a track limits penalty. How much time did he gain from that? Just a second. It's not going to really hurt him there. Oh, Godfather Shifter's got a 6-second penalty, so that's going to be interesting in what's going to happen in relation to him and JK16's positions when we complete this lap, as we're on to the final lap of the race now. Alan and Andrex battling away after Andrex has served his mandatory pit stop. These two were very close when Alan dived into the pit lane quite a while ago. It's a battle for P7 that is on here. Inky Chris and Tony Clifton battling away for P8 still at the moment, and Trip and Paphos still fighting over P12. Watch these two as they're coming through turn 7 now. Strongest Avenger running out a little bit wide, probably picking up more track limits warnings potentially here. And indeed he is. He's backing well out of the accelerator there coming through turn 9 to clear that slowdown warning. Andrex really trying to make a move on Alan, as Alan's managed to get ahead of Andrex coming through the first few turns. So the fight is on between these two. to whether or not they can settle the score here on this lap. Where is Dynamite Alive? He's just coming on the run down towards turn 13, so just want to keep an eye out for him. It's Andrex and Alan side by side, drag racing down the long back straight. Alan should have the legs in the Mercedes over the Audi R8 coming down and into the braking zone, but he's got a very tight line into that hairpin. For the moment, Alan holds on to the position. Coming out the final turn now, however, on the final lap is Dynamite Alive, as he'll be picking up his first race win of the season. He'll be very, very pleased with that. JK16, he comes across the line, provisionally picks up P2. Strongest Avenger provisionally picks up P3, but Lumi will be jumping both of those drivers up into that second podium spot, demoting each of the two drivers ahead of him down a position. Godfather of the Shift picks up P4, so JK16 picks up that final podium position. Strongest Avenger drops down into P5. Yogurt comes across the line in P6 at the end. Alan does manage to hold off Andrex here at the line for P7, but Andrex retakes the position because of Alan's time penalty, so Andrex picks up P7, Alan and P8. WMDR Martin comes across the line in P11. Inky Chris gets promoted up to P9 because of Tony Clifton's penalty. So Inky Chris, P9, Tony Clifton, P10. Tripp comes across the line in P11. It was WMDR Martin's penalty that drops it down into P12 despite coming ahead of all those drivers. Paphos picks up P13 with Asturbo in P14. Speedy Goers across the line. He's there in P15. Here comes Barrett, flashing the lights. P16 to him, Delgado, coming through the final corner now. He flashes the lights and lifts off the accelerator. He comes home in P17 for the moment, but what happens in relation to him and Stephen Curry with the penalties there? Looks like Delgado holds on to P17, 18th. No, I don't want to quit the session, thank you. Stephen Curry in P18. Mr. Zach is going to be one of the last drivers, or the last driver across the start-finish line there. So here we go, your final confirmation of results. Dynamite Alive takes the race win, and it is going to be Strongest Avenger who picks up the bonus point. So Dynamite Alive with the race win. Lumi in P2, JK16, his 14-second penalty drops down into P3. Godfather a shift, drops up to P4. Strongest Avenger with his 20-second penalty at the end of it there, drops down into P5, but he does get the extra bonus point, as I mentioned, for the fastest lap of the race. Yogurt comes home in P6. Andrex there in P7, and Alan gets demoted down to P8 because of the 2-second penalty that he had. Inky Chris in P9. Tony Clifton rounds out the top 10. And then we have Tripp in P11. WMDR Martin in P12, a 14-second penalty that really cost and hurt him quite severely there. Paphos P13. Asturbo came home in P14. The Speedy Go in 15th. 16th goes to Barrett. Delgado in 17th. 18th position, Stephen Curry. Mr. Zach in P19. Tukanash takes home 20th position. 21st went to Clank. 22nd for Jobsk. Otto Winkler came home in 23rd with Fatworm in 24th. And then Atomic finished in 25th position in the end there. So, oh dear. My oh my, what an interesting race that turned out to be, with some pretty good battles throughout the field with that one, which is very, very nice. And Samuel, yeah, the circuit is fairly good for wheel-to-wheel racing. There's a few corners that does string out the field a little bit, but with the cars, where they do have some reliance on mechanical grip as well as aero grip, they're able to hold a little bit closer, and there's a few good overtaking opportunities. But enough of waffling from me. Let's get our first driver into the commentary box here for a driver interview. That'll be Andrex, our current championship leader. How was that race for you, good sir?
Yeah, it was, well, a lot better than I was expecting, to be honest. I was clearly off the pace, but I guess off the pace enough kind of similar to other people apart from those aliens up in front. So it doesn't matter what the gap is, just it kind of matters how many people are between me and the next person in the championship, I guess. So yeah, it was a fairly safe race. My brakes are really not working. I know I'm bad on the brakes normally, but I don't know what was going on tonight. It seemed a lot better last night. But yeah, I was really struggling for brakes. Certainly coming into that hairpin, it was just shockingly bad. Having to brake super early. I was kind of scared if anybody was ever right behind me that they'd just come into the back of me. But yeah, I think it was. I came into it with damage limitation, really. Just try and collect as many points and hope that maybe other people's have issues. Thankfully, there was other people that managed to get in front of Speedy, Strongest Avenger. Managed to stay ahead of Inky, so it's going to plan. But you can only do your own race and see what happens to the other guys out there. But yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with that position at the end, so I'll take that.
Yeah, I was going to say you were did a fairly good job there of well, a little bit of luck on your side with the other drivers picking up those penalty points, which obviously cost them some positions and kind of damage limitation, as you say. You looking forward to the final race? Well, it's not the final race of the season. It would have been the final round 10, but they're rerunning the Azure circuit a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's always just a case of just take it race at a time. I've not really looked at it or the conditions, but it looks as if there's a bit of rain going on there, so I kind of tend to like rain. I don't know, maybe it's just the Scottish in me. I tend to spend 90% of my life driving in rain, but yeah, it's you just got to do your own thing, and if the planets align, you sometimes get an awesome result that you probably shouldn't really be getting. Like I was getting early on in the season, getting some podiums, but yeah, there's a lot of other fast people that have jumped in and joined in the league now. I don't think they're going to really be challenging for the championship as such, but they're taking points away. So I just have to hope that they're faster than Strongest and Inky as well, so that they're not in between us. I'm losing more points than the other guys that I'm potentially fighting against. But yeah, you know, it's what happens at the end of the season happens. And you could get a disconnect in the next race, or they could get a disconnect, and it's all, well, yeah, you just got to see what happens and be lucky now and again.
What is going on here?
Have you disappeared?
No, for some reason it wasn't recording my my push to talk button. I think it may have broke there for a second, but yeah, we'll certainly be keeping a very close eye on that championship fight, because as we've got the standings up on the screen, we can see it's all still very much wide open. So yeah, congratulations on a good damage limitation result this evening. We'll be keeping a very close eye on you, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, man. Can I do a couple of quick wee shout outs? One to Inky Chrissy's grandparents that I believe are really interested in this league and have been watching.
Yep.
So hi to you guys. Thanks for joining us. Awesome. Great to see you. And also a shout out to Stefan, league coordinator. It is his birthday. Well, it's birthday yesterday. But yeah, he had a birthday yesterday. So many happy returns to you.
Yes. Happy belated birthday, Stefan. And
cool.
Yeah, I did do a shout out this earlier on as well for Inky Chris's grandparents, which is good. If I didn't have the stream issues at the very beginning, they probably would have heard it, saw it live. But yeah, hopefully Inky Chris can get the link and the VOD to them for them to listen back, and hopefully it'll bring a nice smile to their face in these times.
Indeed. It's awesome. All right, cheers guys. Thanks for cheers.
Cheers, Andrex. See you later. Right, let's bring in our second driver to talk to this evening, the man who came and picked up the final podium spot. I'm guessing you're going to be happy with that, although a little bit gutted at the same time that you picked up so many time penalties that you lost P2.
Yeah, you know, it's a bit frustrating, but I'm happy with it, to be honest, Yorkie. It was good result. You know, podium is good, especially in that big old M6 around a twisty track like Dubai. Yeah, I think it's Dubai. So yeah, good result.
Good stuff. You're looking forward to the remaining 2 rounds. I think you'll probably, with the M6, really struggle at the rerun of Azure Circuit. But Indianapolis, it might be alright for the BMW.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not sure my availability for the next round, so we'll have to see what happens. But well, the Azure one was a nightmare because I was doing all right in the actual race there, and then obviously the mass disconnect. I was one of the fortunate ones that stayed in the lobby, so I was kind of hoping that would carry on. But you know, it is what it is.
And yeah, where do you predict that you may end up by the time the end of the season? Obviously, you're down in P16 at the moment. You gained a good haul of points today, so you've probably jumped up to in and around kind of 11th, 12th position. I'm guessing you're trying to aim for top 10.
Yeah, I mean that'll be the goal, really. I mean, I'm not too fussed about where I finish. As long as the races are good and I have some good battles on the track, that's the main priority for me. Really, it's great fun, really.
Yeah, that's very good point and very very true. Fair enough. Well,
indeed.
Yeah. I'll just let you head off then and enjoy the rest of your evening. Congratulations on P3. Not really anything else I could think of for the moment. I wanted to ask you. Obviously, you had some pretty good battles actually.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, really. Just getting your elbows out, you know.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Well, hopefully we'll see more of that next week, and that's if obviously you are available. Fingers crossed that you will be, because I've been enjoying watching you.
Good stuff. Cheers, Yorkie.
Not a problem. You enjoy the rest of your evening. Ciao for now.
Take care.
Inky Chris.
Hello.
Hello. A man with the grandparents who like to watch. We've done 2 shout outs for them today in this stream. I hope that you'll send the VOD to them if they've missed the live stream, because the first
I'm sure they were watching.
First link went down. But yeah, it's P9 in the end. How are you feeling about that one?
I mean, it was as good as I could hope for. I haven't done a huge amount of practice this week because it's been really warm. Didn't really fancy getting all hot and sweaty. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. Got the car set up just before, so it felt pretty good. Yeah, I tried to keep clear, went for the undercut to try and get around the traffic, and then everyone else did the same, so it kind of backfired a little bit. Should have stayed out a bit longer, but there it is. Hopefully it was a good spectacle, if nothing else.
Yeah, you got a fair amount of airtime in that race. You battling away with Tony Clifton.
I can hope for. Yeah, I was quite matched on pace with a few people, so it's quite hard track to get away from people, because I tend to be quite fast through all the high downforce stuff, so I was pulling away if I was ahead, but the moment I get onto the back straights, they will just draft right back up under my wing again. So
yeah, how are you feeling about Indianapolis coming up next week?
I'm hoping that it's a slightly less well-known track for people, and I tend to do a little better when most people are a little unfamiliar, like Ruapuna. So hopefully I can kind of make the most of that. I think it probably benefit the Z4 quite well, although I haven't driven it for a while, so can't.
Well, you've got some rain in your favour as well, and I know the Z4
perfect.
does.
Oh, I think it's dry to wet to dry, isn't it?
Yes,
something
it is.
like that. Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yep. So hopefully that race will go well for you, and hopefully you can capitalise on the Z4's strengths in those kind of conditions.
Yes, hopefully. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was going to say, going into this round, you're 30 points behind Andrex. You would have lost a bit of ground to him in this race.
Yeah, I was just saying, with all these new, much faster people, it's it's kind of somewhat scuppered my ability to claw back points on him, even if I was going to finish ahead of him, which I haven't. So.
Do you still think it's possible, though? You've got the rerun of Azure Circuit.
Yeah, well, he was faster around there as well, so I think my main focus is to try and prevent Strongest from catching up too much. But I think even that might be a losing battle at this point. But
yes, well, hopefully all the luck falls on your side, and thank you very much for
We can
talking
hope.
to us
Thank you.
this evening.
Yeah, cheers.
I shall.
I hope it was a good one.
Certainly was. Yeah, I'll catch you later, man.
Awesome.
Enjoy your
Take it
evening.
easy.
Cheers, bye.
You too.
We'll get one last driver into the box. Atomic, what's
Hey.
happened to you? How did your race go? We saw you kind of lurking in and around the back and struggling a bit once again.
A little bit. Obviously, I had the qualifying ban that carried over from Monaco, and because I didn't do last week's race due to some PC issues. But yeah, I think the race went okay. I was just a bit unfortunate. I had a little bit of a spin and picked up damage on lap 8, I think it was. So I had to pit and get that sorted. But then the rest of the race, I was all right. But clearly just off the pace, which is a bit annoying.
Yeah, I imagine that has been a little bit frustrating throughout the course of the season. Where are you, the overall standing?
Probably near the bottom, I would imagine.
You are, unfortunately, down in
Not surprised.
31st position. There's a few positions where you could probably gather some points off in the last 2 rounds. How are you feeling approaching those with Indianapolis and the rerun of Azure Circuit?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the rerun. Yeah, hopefully quite positive. Indianapolis is a pretty fun track. Plenty of overtaking opportunities there, hopefully, especially with turn 1. Monaco or Azure, yeah, not sure about that one, but hopefully if I can qualify in a decent position and then just, damage limitation should be okay. Hopefully gain some places, but just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yep, certainly will. Well, thank you very much again for talking to us. Frequent visitor here to the commentary box, which is always nice and good to see. But,
No worries.
hopefully you can have some good results next week and with the rerun of Azure Circuit.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Yep, well, I'll let you head off and enjoy the rest of your evening for now. So thank you very much for talking to us once again, and I should catch you probably next week.
Yeah. Cheers, Jockey. See you next week.
Alright, cheers, bye-bye. So yes, you've had the standings up there on the screen for pretty much the entirety of all those interviews. There is the actual calendar that we are running, and as you can see, next week, 27th of May, is what was due to be the final round of the season, but as you've probably heard through the driver interviews, is not the actual final race of the season. So we've got Indianapolis Road, and you can see the weather conditions there that we're going to be running as well, where it starts off dry, and then goes into rainy conditions, and then goes to dry conditions once again. It's going to be a 90-minute race, so it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out over the course of round 10. And then the following week, after the 27th of May, so the following week after then will be the 3rd of June, we have the rerun of Azure Circuit. Unfortunately, we had a mass disconnection before we got to the 50% mark, and it therefore meant that the round was postponed and pushed back to a later date. So finale here of season 15 is going to be at Monaco, which is going to be a very interesting race indeed. We saw, despite the very narrow streets and the Yonko barriers being in real tight and close, we did still see some overtaking moves going on. So hopefully we can see a repeat of that, and hopefully we shall see you back once again next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you hit the bell notification, you'll get an email and you'll be notified each time that we go live here at AOR with the various different leagues that we run across the community, covering all sorts of various different games. And yeah, if you enjoyed today's live stream, or if you enjoyed watching back the VOD, please hit the like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated, and it goes a long way in helping out the AOR channel and getting a little bit more viewership. But otherwise, thank you very much for everybody tuning in. I've been Yorkie065. All my links to the social media will be down in the description down below. But other than that, thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you next week. Until then, have fun, stay safe, and take care.